Kenyan's Kids on Safari is a program or a project that was meant as well to create or even enlighten the kids, the pastoralist kids who stays near or lives near the conservation area, to understand the importance of conservation of our wildlife, of our environment, and as well to open up their mind or to know the careers which are associated in the conservation.
I learned more things. I learned about how and why is it important to conserve our environment. How is it important to live with our animals and to have them.
Kenyan Kids on Safari is really a very simple concept. Everything was already in place to do this. And that's one of the very unusual things that, why would an American come over and pick this to do when you guys could have done it so easily? But sometimes you don't see the forest for the trees, and I think this was a case like that, because I was over here with my late wife, and we were helping her keep her mind off cancer, because if you think too much about cancer, or if you're trying to help, they wanted her to go back and tell all the other patients how her experience over here had kept her to avoid that 6 months life sentence she was given. Her doctors gave her 6 months life sentences 6 times. She lived almost 8 years, and we think it was because she was coming here. So we had this great idea, so we put the kids in, and Shivani was saying, once they come back, they're different people. I said, how can that be? One day? She said, yeah, it doesn't take 3 or 4 days. In one day, they can change totally. So we don't tell the lodges this, but actually some of the times that are best are now the times that weren't before, because the tourists are either eating, asleep, or so forth. So we take the kids out when they're not using the vehicles. So it's very easy for them to do an in-kind gift, or you call it a community service. And then they can write it off to the community service, the CSR that they're supposed to give, and it works for everybody.
So when we teach these kids about the conservation, we take them on a photo safaris, because the program provides them with the cameras. So those opportunities now, those things, when we teach them, actually they feel much better. And now, so we train them about the careers which are within the conservation, because there are a lot of careers over there. These kids, instead of maybe thinking maybe they might go and work like far away, some maybe might fear the distance or staying away from the community. But now, when they realize there are a lot of jobs just within the background, and they can change the community way of life, then that is actually what we normally teach them during the program.
And many things, like some types of animals that I never knew about, and the tips for conserving the environment. We learn how to use cameras, and we learn that we learn the opportunities that this wildlife give us.
Well, there's an old phrase: you can put yourself in someone else's shoes, but they're still their shoes. So we're trying very hard. And this is something that's really been challenging to me. I say, do I really know these kids? Am I making up a dream of it? But I find out that I know a little, but I'm not so arrogant as to say that I can really, coming from my background and everything, totally understand kids who live such a different life. But I've been making a study of pastoralism all over the world to get an idea, so that I can explain, particularly if we're asking for a donation or something to the cause. They're saying, well, tell me what these children are like. I said, they're just like our pioneer children used to be. They don't have electricity. They have wildlife around them. They have stock. One thing I think that's important, that gives us an insight that we're succeeding, whether we really understand them totally or not, because these are not simple people. These are people with very complex culture. And you want to be very careful that we help preserve and strengthen those villages. And you have to not destroy your image of this fantastic, quiet little world that they have out here, and where they have a chance to, they're some of the innocence of the world. And I believe there are some innocence in this world, and these kids represent it. And when you get them in a car, and they, at the end of the journey, two things it assures. It assures who they are, what happens then. At the end of the journey, when we ask them to write their experience and what it meant to them, this tells who they are, and it also tells that they're not greedy, and that the system, that our adventure for them really works, and giving them a new perspective on not just conservation, but on their entire life, because we're becoming the safari of life for them now, not just the safari of wildlife.
They feel very, very, very nice because, you know, some kids here, most of the kids live in Manyatas, where it's a very remote area where there's no any development. So being in a game drive with a car, with some trainees telling you on the benefits, on how the animals are called, you feel nice by yourself, you feel more enjoyed, and you feel more free.
For me, the future is bright. If you ask the kid, just the first day when they came to the camp, or when they come to join the program, the moment we ask them, just tell me like how you feel about the wildlife, specifically the elephants, the lion, or these big predators. They normally give a very bad image about the wildlife. But after 2 days about the program, or even after just a day or 2 days about conservation, if you ask them about the elephant, they even forget. Like yesterday, they were speaking about the negative thing about these animals. They all understand, oh, there are a lot of benefit or thing we can reap out of conservation of these animals.
The message that I'm sending to other kids is that let's try to do our best, because if we don't, we are the one who are going to be hurt. We are the one who are going to suffer. Let's inherit our culture, our animals, our land, because if we practice deforestation, kill animals, and don't learn, because even now in the life of a person, learning has become a basic need to us. So if we don't learn, we will suffer. We will always be hungry. It will always be, the government will just show pictures of us being suffering, being in hunger. Why can't us from the roots, coming down from the roots, let's plant our roots, our seeds from the beginning until we will bear good fruit.
The program has been of success, and I would say that because of those children who have been in the program, we have had several of them who have been coming to the program, and what they come with after learning, coming back to school, they have been of advantage. Most of them have been joining the wildlife program, and those children who have been in the Kenya Kids on Safari have been of benefit to the others, because when they joined the program, they learned a lot about conservation, and when they came back to school, they became mentors to the others.
I came here expecting to learn more about wildlife, and yes, indeed, I learned. And I'm going to take this message to my school as the ambassador, and make sure that they also learn what I have learned, and make sure that I and them conserve our environment as I have been taught. Thank you.
The kids changed from the time they joined the program. When they came back, most of them are pastoralist children. They have been herding, and therefore they have had that bad attitude towards wild animals, because they see the wild animals as very dangerous to their livestock, and that is what they depend on. But then when they joined the program, after learning and going for game drives, seeing the importance of these animals, when they came back, they had a lot to tell to the other kids, that these wild animals are good, and they can only be bad, yes, when they are intimidated. But if we live positively with them, then things are going to be okay with us. So they like the program. They have appreciated. The program has really helped them to appreciate the wildlife.
When I came here, the first thing I asked was to go into the villages. And I was very appalled with the conditions of the villages. So I decided to talk with Chief Moses Kasoi, and make sure that we were on track with what is really necessary here. So he told me that education is the primary thing that they need, they want, especially for the girls that till just a few years ago were not even going to school at all. And then second, he asked me for something very simple. I was asking him about the hygiene conditions, where they go to the bathroom, you know, those details while in the village. And he said there's no toilets at all. So they go into the bushes, and I started thinking about how dangerous that is for the kids and for the adults, for the animals. We have the typhoid fever and, you know, cholera and all other diseases connected to this lack of hygiene. So I decided to come to Mr. Todd Cromwell, which is he is the founder of the Kenyan Kids on Safari, and ask him to invest a little bit in this project. So what happens is, first we need to understand that the animals, cows and goats, and they are their main living. You know, that's their that's what they live for, because that's what they give them some meat and some money and even a good status in the village, you know. And naturally for the lions and leopards and cheetah, it's an easy way to get food, you know, because the cows are just there and the goats are just there. So it's super important for them to have a security system for their animals, and that is as simple as having some blinking lights. And though they need to keep the animals still close to home, that will make them relax a bit more and protect the animals and the children, of course. It's as close to the village as possible. For that, we are planning to put some solar panels in the first 100 houses. Well, not exactly houses as we probably think of. It's manyatas, which is a very simple structure that the women build here. Very interesting is the women that build the houses here. So we're going to try to do that. Some solar panels. First project will be 100 houses, and then we'll go from there. If this works, if this is the best way to go from that project, we'll go and do another 100 and another 100. For that, we need some, of course, donations, because Mr. Todd Cromwell is now using all his money. He even sold his house to be here and help these kids.
Conservation, we don't want it to be shoved down the families or the kids. We don't want to try and influence their minds when they go out in that car. They have to make up their own minds. They either want conservation or they don't. And if they don't, that's fine. But we've never had it happen. And we know they're not just trying to please us, because they know now our main force is the kids. You can't do this for 10 years and say you're just about conservation. We're about the Kenyan kids, and we really are. And that sounds noble, but you come out here and do this, and you will be for the kids. And it's about their safari of life. And incidentally, it's about the safari of wildlife. You take it, if we destroy this, we're throwing away a big section of our planet. And where is the birthplace of humankind? Here in Africa. Why shouldn't they be the mother of protecting this? But me personally, what I think of it, I think that the savior of this is if these kids, when they're young and they get the idea, and they're not just having all these challenges thrown at them by their parents want to keep their image of their esteem built to their cattle. But they've accepted. The parents aren't fighting us. The parents are supporting us. We were talking about that earlier. And the parents are saying, look, we put them in school. We know their minds are going to be open. And you're giving them something that's right at home that they can do. And if there's a drought, they've still got a job bringing in money to the community. because our children aren't going to walk away and just go to the city. 99% of these kids want to stay here. So what are they going to do? They're going to take that job and give back to the community. So this is a quiet way of making the whole thing of conservation work and not be in conflict, but in coexistence.